be live at that point. And you should see a feed in the studio app, YouTube studio app. Okay, countdown. And we're live. Welcome to episode 10 of the Move It podcast with me, Jared Uraine, here at Vice Realty with the 5 Diamond Group. Welcome. As you can see, we've got some new digs. Not that it's any different. We're just one room over. And today we had to do a little hack job because our key video guy had an emergency to take care of. So we hope everything works out well. Which camera are we on, Isaac? Awesome. Very good. So today we've got a special guest with Jose. And Jose is going to join us for our interview as well as our special guest interview. But to get us started in today's episode of the Move It podcast with Jared Uraine, I'm going to cover part 2 of mental health and really the trying to get to the root of really what this issue is all about and what we're seeing different today. When it comes to 2023, we've seen a dramatic increase in the number of mass shootings. Now, that is something that has happened frequently, mainly in the United States. But as of this past weekend, 225 have been counted. Now, the definition of a mass shooting, of course, is 4 people or more being killed. Unfortunately, that is a statistic where real lives are involved. 225 of those times 4 is, we're talking about 1,000 people have died just this year alone. And when you break that down numerically, that's about 1.5 shootings a day. Now, we didn't have one this weekend that I'm aware of, but ironically, we did have a shooting in our neighborhood. No one got hurt. But the fact is that gun violence is on the rise, as so is mass shootings, unfortunately, as a context. And the conversation many people have been having recently is they're connecting a lot of the violators to mental health. And really, is that the case? Is it really easy to stereotype someone with mental health conditions? While states do make an effort to try and make gun control easier, well, is it easier or is it harder, really? Because at the end of the day, it should be harder for these things to happen in a democratic society. And the question is, how does that happen when you live in a country with the kind of liberties that we have? It is a challenging scenario to deal with, right? In the state of Nevada, they just passed legislation to up the age to 21 for assault rifles. And yet anyone that has assisted someone with that can receive increasing level of fines. They've also made it very difficult for people with a hate crime on their record, even the intention of being a hate crime, making it difficult for them to hold or possess firearms on that. This is just one state out of 50, if not more, that are dealing with that. And this is not intended to be a political statement, and nor are we intending to be able to go down the issue of politics. But the pure facts of the matter is that when it comes to dealing with the challenges we face today, it is something that needs to be grappled with, or can it be? See, a lot of people also feel like video games and the internet are having an effect on people. And that's a very sensitive issue. 10 years ago, when social media came out, there was some correlation that you could see in personalities and in social environment, but not enough to make an impact, not enough to have some sort of actual hard data to tie to, right? There is evidence to suggest that video games can have a number of positive mental health benefits. Absolutely. It can reduce stress. There's some freedom. There's some cognitive function. There's actually some technical ability that's involved in video games and even being able to interact socially. We've opened up so much technology to get access to people and be able to share in each other's lives and so forth. But there is a negative side to the freedom, and part of that is the responsibility that we have to manage socially as people. Here, some of the positive and negative effects of video games on people. First, it does reduce stress. It does allow cognitive function for some folks. It does encourage social interaction. And on the flip side, excessive gaming can lead to addictions or social isolation and even depression or anxiety. Depression and anxiety being some of the 2 key components where today's world is being experienced. COVID really exposed many of those dark sides for most people, trying to figure out how to be able to survive isolated, trying to deal with not being social. We are social people. We are created that way, to be able to interact with folks and be able to lean on people, to be able to grow. And yet, if someone is removed from that, it's unnatural. It's not design. It's not part of our design. And when someone gets to the extreme level in their perception, in their life, to be able to say, I'm just taking people out, and they don't see it as reality, it becomes a video game to them. At what point do we blur reality and art to real life? The correlation of gun violence and mental health is a sensitive subject. It's a complex issue. And while there is some truth that some of the violators have mental conditions, it's more of a stereotype, though. It's important to remember that the vast majority of people with mental illnesses are not violent. In actuality, it's more appropriate to say that studies have shown people with mental illness are more likely to become victims of the violence rather than the perpetrators. Some of the facts of that statement include that 4% of all violence is related to mental illness. Only 4%. And people with mental illness are more likely to be victims of violence. There are a number of factors that can also contribute to it, including substance abuse, access to guns, or exposure to violence, their youth, how they were raised, as well as how they process life. Back to therapy, remember? There are a number of things that can be done to reduce the violence. Some of them include gun control laws. Others want to address the root cause of violence. I feel being able to deal with therapy and being able to have communication, social interaction, encouragement, and a group of folks to help create a standard in society would absolutely help. That's essentially how we were created, right? In addition, promoting mental health awareness and treatment all have contributing positive factors to help folks be able to deal with that. So it's important to remember there is no easy solution, but this is an opportunity for us to be able to have a dialogue with folks, to be able to reach out to ones who may or may not be thinking about those things. And when we joke around about being able to take somebody out, music, movies, they all kind of promote these gangster style theories. But is that really positive for our processing, for our thinking? Is that something that we really should be feeding our mind? What do we feed our mind and what do we marinate on? It ends up being a melting pot of activity. And sometimes we have to question those realities. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. That is my segment on mental health for this month. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today on the 5 Diamond Group Move It podcast. My name is Jared Uraine here at Vice Realty. And Isaac, we're going to test you out, man. We're going to see our segue into market report, man. That's all you got? That's all I got. Did it work? Nope. Oh, market report. Okay. And all right, well then. Okay, we'll keep it rolling, as they say. Right on. In today's, well, you know what? Do you have the guest one lined up? We're going to stand by for a second. As we segue into this, just a little background on today's situation. We do have Lex, our videographer, and we again want to reach out our condolences. He's dealing with a challenging moment, and so we did our backup plan B, and we're having fun with it. So as I say, we've been doing this in a way to establish a habit, to be committed to. Did I say habit? To establish a habit. To establish a habit and to form the routine and be committed to being able to publish something every week this week. So thank you so much for hanging in there, tuning in, and listening to this. Part 2 is typically our market update. And today, our guest is Jose. And it looks like Isaac might have the file ready to go. Let's do the segue to the market update. Oh, we're back on? In today's market update for Las Vegas, our median price point, if you didn't catch it last week, is new. For the previous 4 months leading up into April, we had a median price point here in Las Vegas for a typical single-family home of $425,000. That was consistent from December to January. Excuse me, December, January, February, and March. April, our median price point went up by $5,000. Now, what does that mean to you as a buyer? If you are looking to purchase today and you've been qualified, it means that the price points have moved up. And the reasons why that happens is because A, we have a lower amount of inventory, and B, rates are favorable. So while you've got kind of a double-edged sword, take the opportunity, shop and lock whatever you can get today. If you are selling a home or thinking about selling, our inventory has been reduced. And what that means to you is your home can stand out even better, and you will more than likely get top dollar, possibly multiple offers. We are seeing that in all price points, especially under $350,000. So whichever scenario you are thinking about, we are back to a strong market, strong sellers market. And with the way the economy is going to be moving later this year, we're going to probably see some changes as the way things go. So it's no time better than now to be able to make that transition if you're thinking about making that move. Today's market update is brought to you by the 5 Diamond Group here at Vice Realty. Buying or selling requires information that is valuable to you in your life. So get your consultation, whether you're selling or buying today, so that you can make an informed decision for the next steps in your life. That does it for the market update. We are now going to move to our special guest. About that. You ready for this, Jose?
I think so.
All right.
Get it done.
All right.
Get her done.
Are we ready, Isaac? So we're back. And we're back. Jose.
Very good. How's it going?
Hey, man. Jose is the name of a...
famous singer.
Yeah, from Mexico.
Great music.
Right?
Yes.
I only know that because I met him.
Oh, did you? What honor.
I was 10 years old. My grandmother was taking us down to Mexico City. We were at the airport in Acapulco. And she's like, that's Jose. That's Jose. I'm like, who's Jose? She's like, go get his autograph. And I had this little Mickey Mouse book, and she's like, hey, okay, get your autograph.
You still have it?
Nope.
Oh, man.
I have no idea what happened to that. It was an awesome little book, though, for my trip, man. Welcome aboard, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate having me on.
Yeah, so part of the special guest episode is really to dive into various people that are involved in not just our business, but our world here locally. And you have some unique things that you bring to the table. First, you've just recently got your license here in town, right?
Yes, sir.
So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And you're part of the 5 Diamond Group, but you also have a background in banking and real estate.
Yes.
So catch us up to speed. Give us kind of give us the story. How did you get here?
Yeah. So prior to this life, I was 10 years in banking. Worked for a financial institution here in town. Started as a banker, moved up the ranks. After that, I started my journey in real estate investing. I've been there for a little bit over 2.5 years in investing. And again, like you said, now here for 5 months. So enjoying the process.
Yeah, man. So you got to ride the market during the fun times.
Yeah.
Being able to take some properties, flip them. What kind of investing specifically?
So we did a single family home.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, we tend to stay under the $350 mark. Mm-hmm. And then I did a little bit of wholesaling as well.
Okay. All right. And with the market transition, you chose to jump into real estate as a realtor. Why?
So I think while in banking, one of the cool things about that industry that you get to meet a lot of people, and you as you build relationships, you talk to people and you figure out there's different ways of building wealth, right? My plan had always been to go into the long-term buy and hold, but it ended up kind of turning into, as the market was heating up and as we saw opportunities, I initially started going into more of the flip, but the journey is still eventually to do the buy and hold.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I decided to get into real estate myself on the front lines, as I call it, because I've been in real estate since '97. But being active on the sales front, for about 12, 11 years now, for the purpose of being able to understand not just the process, but the market cycles and seeing where we're at in the stream of time and really how things change. Because it was right after the last recession, 2008, when, I mean, obviously the crash, we knew things had to go up when you fall that far down.
Yeah.
The question is how high and how long it would go. And it turned out to be the longest real estate run that we've seen in history so far. Now, the next chapter is what's next in the economy, right? How has the last couple of years affected your vision or kind of like your direction in life?
Definitely, it's now that you bring that up, it's kind of in the same step that I'm at, right? My transition over into becoming an agent is to really give me that insight, right, of the ups and downs, the transitions, the peaks and valleys, right? So I think
Has the let's say last year, like 2022, pretty terrible year as far as a realtor goes. We had the lowest number of transactions closing last year. I mean, that didn't really affect you, but as far as wholesaling and investing and flipping, you chose to jump on board and learn the path of a realtor, right?
Yeah, when I got into the journey, we were definitely going more on the up cycles. Towards the end of it, I kind of saw the transition going down, right? So with the lack of experience, I figured it's time to kind of shift and really get a key understanding, right? I think when you're investing money, you really need to make sure that we have a good understanding of everything that's going on, right? Mm-hmm. So mainly the thing here is, I'm so sorry.
For what? It's okay. It's just cameras, and it's live now.
And it's definitely live. I'm sorry.
Hey, I get it. No worries. Don't be stressed. It's just you and me talking. Don't overthink it. Yeah. So as far as coming on board, you decided to come on board and learn the market, the economy, also what it means to help folks make the transition. Because I would imagine as a wholesaler, one of the things that I had questions about, especially in the wholesaling component, right? Why would anybody want to sell to a wholesaler when they can actually get more money? And what I didn't realize was that there are situations that people would need that to happen, right? They need the cash immediately. And for the most part, most people can probably wait the extra couple of months and put it on the market and get the extra money that they might have lost out on from selling it to a wholesaler. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's value in each of those arenas. But being that we're kind of in a transition point, let's say in the economy, it's a fantastic time to be able to jump on board if you're willing to learn. And that's one thing I appreciate about you, man. You are willing to take on the new experiences and embrace them. For example, here you are.
Yes. And I think, going back with that thought process, right, where you would think that most people would want to just put it on the market, right? Depending on the situation, right? And I think, especially in the market that I started in, I think one of the cool things that I didn't realize when I was getting into it, right? In a harder market, it actually makes it that much harder to get customers to convince them to wholesale or to sell it for cash, right? Because properties are selling quickly, right? There's the environment is telling everybody, hey, put it in the market, no matter the condition, you're gonna get top dollar for it, right? Mm-hmm. So those conversations were that much harder. But I think it just goes back to just figuring out that why, right? So what that is right, you really do have to talk to each customer and figure out what is it that they need. Does it always make sense to get, cash money? Maybe not. right? But there's plenty of situations where the customer maybe got a job somewhere else, in a different state. Um, Maybe the customer decided that um, they don't want to pay the commission. That was a big thing, right? I think now that I'm kind of in this industry, I also kind of see the flip side, right? Um, but there's also customers that have no interest in the property, right?
Yeah.
Properties go through probate. There's death in the family,
Yes.
and the family member just doesn't want to deal with it. So
Right.
that's kind of where I think any person that's gonna sell a property to us, right? We're just solving their problem, right?
That's exactly it. Solving the problem according to their scenario, right? And you mentioned a key portion of that is having the consultation, understanding what their situation is. We make that a high priority on our team, regardless of who we're talking to, renters or buyers. We want to understand their unique situation. It's one thing to get the criteria, anybody can get that. But to understand and how we can best give them the solutions for them, in my opinion, you're opening your tool bag and making it that much greater in that sense. You mentioned the way things are going, right? We see a lot of clickbait online about what's happening in the economy, what's going to happen in the future. Specifically, let's say in regards to like commercial lending or even commercial properties. What's your feeling towards that? Because that's an arena that you enjoy.
Yeah, so part of my journey within banking was helping customers do their business banking, right, and business lending. Um, Most business loans that we practice and that we service were 20 years amortized with every 5 years being re-amortized by themselves, right? Um, one of the topics that I hear a lot in YouTube, right, is kind of the fear of what's going to happen when these investors in the lower cap, the mid cap, start deciding that, hey, my cash flow isn't the same, right? I was paying 3% now because my loan was amortized automatically. Now I'm closer to 6-7%. What does that do to my cash flow? Do I want to keep my money in this, or do I want to move it into something else, right? So what does that do to inventory?
Yeah.
So, you know, kind of analyzing it, and kind of that's where I wanted to get your feedback, and how does that actually affect it?
As far as the transition and being able to sell versus moving the money somewhere.
Yeah.
The expectation, in fact, that's going to be one of the topics here we talk about in the economy portion coming up.
Oh, perfect.
We just did the search for 30-day Treasury pay as versus a 90-day. The yield is inverted. You can actually make more money right now, 5.64% for 30-day Treasury as opposed to 5.08 in 90 days. That is a message from the federal government that they expect some sort of recession in the next 30 days, 90 days. 90 days or so. And how does that affect anyone who needs to reamortize their commercial property? It's more than likely that they might end up in the same boat as SVB if they need to either walk away or file foreclosure. We don't know. It really depends on everyone's unique situation, right, in their portfolio. How can they move their money around, let's say, in or out of the property, as well as how fast can they sell it on those. So in terms of what to expect, there's a lot of fear out there, and certainly clickbait for YouTube channel is out there quite a bit, but it's absolutely important to be able to get clarity on in everyone's unique situation. So back to the consultation, man.
Yeah.
Understanding each one's unique perspective or situation.
Yeah, I think the topic at hand, right? When does that matter, right? And part of that consultation, right, is who is your customer, and what is their trajectory with their property, right? What is their plan with their property? Are they planning to live in it? Is it their stepping stone into their next property? How soon is that gonna have to be, right? I think all those are factors. When we look at these clickbait articles, right, And if a customer brings it up upon us, it's important to discuss it. And can there be some reality to those topics? Yes, right. But how is it going to affect you, and when is it going to affect you? I think is more important, right?
And so the probability of seeing foreclosures happen in the future here in the next, let's say, second half of this year it is elevated. There is potential for that. And so what does that mean for the real estate market itself? Well, most of those are probably going to happen in the commercial space. That's where a lot of the economists are speculating, in the commercial property as well as commercial space. Why? Well, we just got out of the pandemic and most people are working from home. How many businesses are on the brink of collapsing this year or filing BK because of inflation and the federal government raising rates? Amazon reported the first loss in who knows how many years, and they're shutting down warehouses. We're seeing at least a dozen or more other companies getting prepared, like Bed Bath & Beyond. They filed their bankruptcy a couple weeks ago. It was expected. So a lot of large fallout that's happening in this transition. A lot of opportunity from an investment standpoint to be able to take advantage of that. But if you are holding a lot of these assets and you're trying to manage the transition, that's a beast to deal with at the moment. Yeah. As far as the real estate residential side goes, there aren't many that had bought in an elevated price point that need to sell and that will lose money in the same numbers that we did in 2008. It's just not there. Okay. There's just not that much activity. In fact, the sheer number of transactions nationwide over the last couple of years is a fraction of what it was doing in 2006, from 2003 to 2006, like literally half. And then you add to the fact that new home developers weren't producing for almost 8-9 years. So they've just barely started ramping up the production to be able to kind of get us to a space where volume alone was comparable to what it was in 2008 or 9. And the real only issue as far as price point and potential foreclosures would only be for the last couple of years. We're not talking multiple years on that. Okay. If people need to sell.
Okay. Yeah. So for those customers that are using it for a stepping stone, we would project maybe, as long as they're not needing to sell within, say, 2 to 3 years, we should be.
Well, we've seen the peak of last year, April, and we've seen the drop. And Las Vegas is the leader of the pack when it comes to peaks and valleys. It's been like that for 20 years. And so we went from 482 to 425. Now we're at 430. If somebody needs to move, they can probably rent it out, hold on to it for a couple of years, get something else. If they needed to sell today and sell it at a loss, more than likely, depending on how much they put down, that's going to affect what their sales price is. It's more than likely it might be just an even sale. The difference between here and the big recession of 2008 is the majority of people that were foreclosing were people who, literally paid nothing out of pocket. They financed the entire thing. And every month that the home value dropped was additional money that they owed to the bank that then was in default and kept stacking up. We don't have that problem today because the adjustments, most people that have bought today have had some skin in the game. So we're not going to see that. It's just not there as far as we can tell. But you never know. Next month is a different story.
The famous phrase, right? You never want to use the this time is different, but it really does seem like this time is different, right?
This time is different, yeah.
I think also one of the things that I like to talk about, right? I think Vegas, if you compare it to 2008, has really evolved, right? Yeah. We no longer are heavily relying on casinos, right? We have a bunch of distribution centers that have opened. We now have, the 2 professional NHL teams plus, possibly a third or fourth one coming in, right? Las Vegas was actually ranked number 2 as far as family friendly, right? So think about
how much we've changed.
How much we've changed, right? We went from becoming, the Sin City to, second best as far as family ranking, right? People still want to move here and, on record level. So there is a lot of things that are different, which brings a lot of positive thinking about where we're heading, right? So I'm excited for what's to come.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. I've been saying that for years. So it's an amazing time to be what we do here in Vegas, and because you're right, there's the outlook here in the city is phenomenal, and I'm grateful to have you on board, man. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
To wrap this up, you have made it a priority in your life to build relationships. Talk a little about that.
Yeah, it goes back to the bank, but even before that, right? I think as the youth, I was lucky enough to have parents that kept me involved, right? I was put in a leadership program, which taught me the importance of just talking to different people and getting them involved with different groups, right? Within the bank, one of my what I tied to my success was building relationships, right? There was many times within the bank that a customer would want to purchase something, right, or want to refinance or want to get a credit card, right? And based on the conversations that we've had, right, we determined that maybe this isn't the right process or the right product or the right, and I think that ties in a lot to what we do here, right? Customers sometimes want to get into, the huge house, right? But we really want to look at the whole picture, right? We want to understand their why is it that they're doing it, why is it that they need this, right? So by building those relationships, right, you understand what is it that they truly need. By building those relationships with outside people, you also understand who you connect them with, right? Whether it's your loan officer, whether it's your title company, whether it's somebody that's going to take care of your wills, testimonies, right? All those things are benefits of a customer coming to me, having built those relationships throughout my journey.
Yeah, and that's one of the critical qualities that we look for in an agent. A lot of people join this industry. There's a stereotype for, making a quick buck here in this industry. But one of the most important factors that we want to communicate is that we value the journey that people are on, and we want to make sure that we give them the resources to help them make an informed decision on that. So I respect that, honor you for that, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep it going. Welcome aboard.
Thank
you.
You
survived. Thanks for making it out, man.
Thank you.
That does it for today's Move It podcast, episode 10, here at the 5 Diamond Group at Vice Realty. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you like this episode, please share it. Get people to know who Jose is, because he is rock star in the making. And make sure you subscribe and ring the notification bells. In a few minutes, we're going to tie in with Miguel Francis, and we're going to cover real estate and the economy this week. My name is Jared Uraine with Vice Realty here at the 5 Diamond Group, broker salesperson. You can reach us at the 5 Diamond, sorry, the wrong URL, 5diamondgroup.vegas, and all of the social media outlets, 5 Diamond Group. Thanks for tuning in.